Hello, 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 and welcome to this YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I'm a master manifester. I'll do the whole spiel, but I don't know. I don't feel like doing it tonight. And let's get into it. I wanted to talk about something that's a little bit nuanced, right? I think we don't have these conversations enough. And mind you, if you look at the content that I previously posted, I didn't have a real um, gendered presence. But in my videos lately, or in my calling, I feel lately for me to share information, it's been very woman driven, right? And I've never been like man against woman, gender, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that, but I feel like the feminine energy in our society needs so much healing to a certain degree. And I feel tapped into it at the moment, right? I feel like a really good vessel for it. So I like to talk about these things just to kind of make sure that I'm giving all that I have to that mission, that societal mission, that thing that's happening, that I can see happening around the world when I look at different social medias, when I have conversations. And so I want to do my part, right? So, I want to talk about some things that happen in intimate relationships that sometimes we don't know are negative things or red flags. And because we're young or we're uninformed, we continue on in these relationships. And then eventually, the deeper issues surface, and they're not always pretty, and we're not always equipped to handle it. And then usually it ends up in some type of breakup or divorce or dismantling of some sort, right? These are some things that I noticed early on in relationships where the person truly kind of just didn't like me. They just, at the end of the day, that's what it truly boiled down to. But the words never came out. It was never explicitly said, but there were actions that were there. And so I was essentially being gaslit into believing, well, you must like me because you do this, you do that. But then there were other reactions that said, like, this person is not in your corner, right? The number one thing that I remember is person not being very excited to see you. It's like you come off like more of a duty. And that's not just in relationships, that's in like the people closest to you. Because what I really think is that our self esteem and well being is extremely impacted by the people that are closest to us. And if we're surrounded by people close to us who, when we show up in a space we are, come home from work, or we come home from a trip or something, and they're not excited to see us, or they're not happy, and we feel more tolerated and just like, whatever, that really pulls down your self-esteem if you're having issues there, or if you're still building it, or if you're just human, right? Because while we want to be these silos that are independent of the humans that are around us and how they're interacting with us, it still affects us to a certain degree, right? Like I would feel really bad, even though I could find a way to feel good, but it would feel really bad if, I had my daughters and they didn't like me. And I came home in that environment every day, and it's like they just don't like me. And so I would find a way to be better because we have to, right? Because we have to, empower ourselves to some degree. But it wouldn't be an experience that I would enjoy, right? When people aren't excited to see you, and you can tell, look in their eyes. Someone had this study that they were doing, and they said that see if someone really likes you, surprise them or tap them on their back and catch them off guard, and look in their eyes and see how they react to you. And it's supposed to tell you right then and there, like that initial reaction before they know that they're being analyzed or reviewed or they're being paid attention to. That initial reaction tells you everything you need to know about how they feel about you, right? If they look annoyed, that is their genuine feeling of how they feel about you. If they turn around and they go, oh, like that means they're actually genuinely happy and excited to see you. Another thing is they neglect small things. So like if they know you're into something or something gets you excited or you enjoy something, they never cater to it. So it's like they know you have tea every night or coffee in the morning. They never like, let me go ahead and make this person's coffee, or let me put gas in the vehicle or something like that. Or even if it's just a friend, and like they're out and about and they see something that is one of your favorite cookies and you have to order them offline or something like that all the time. And maybe you won't be around to see this, but that person neglects to grab that thing for you. Maybe they mention it later. Oh yeah, I saw those cookies the other day or something. You're like, why didn't you get them for me? I would have got them for you. And so you'll see that they neglect really small things like holding doors open for you. Or if you're in a relationship and you're out on a fancy night or something like that, not holding the door for you or something. Birthdays, specific holidays, right? Something I always saw as a red flag that I wish I would have known then was every time somebody said something like they didn't celebrate Valentine's Day. Now, mind you, it's a silly holiday, right? We all know it's a holiday that's just for fun. You know, Valentine's Day is just as solid of a holiday as Halloween, right? But we know that it's a day that a lot of women enjoy because it's a day where they can receive extra special things like flowers and chocolates or gifts and things, just to show some extra appreciation for all of the nurturing and love that a woman will put into a relationship or an environment or a household. But every time I've been around someone who was staunchly hardcore against it, it was always a deeper issue there, right? And so they neglect those small things. So even if you like it, it doesn't matter. They don't want to have anything to do with it, right? They act like your conversation is annoying or that you don't have anything good or interesting to say. Like you'll have conversations and you'll mention something. Oh yeah, I remember, that like this happened that today. I remember somebody I was with, it probably was the ex-husband maybe. I don't really, I'm sure that's probably who it was. But I used to like mention things and try to like make conversation, and it would always be met with a huh, But it's like, let a homeboy call on the phone, and it was like, all kinds of conversation, right? And so that really works on your esteem, and it really messes with your well-being, because I'm a firm believer that you can't be closely connected to people who aren't treating you right, who aren't loving your presence, because it's eventually going to spill over into how you feel about yourself, because that is who you're surrounded with all the time, right? And they act like, yeah, you don't have anything interesting to say. Another thing is they're not excited when you win things. So you'll notice, like, if you bring home some new information or something exciting. I got to a point where in more than one relationship where I just didn't talk about anything great that was happening to me in workplace or career, because either it was met with something that felt like jealousy or indifference, or it was like fake, that's good, happy for you. But you can see the whole look on the face is not at all. I remember I was with someone and I was writing a book. Well, I was having my audio book done for one of my novels, and the reader, she's excellent. She's an actress. She'd been in theater for a real long time. And so that particular book, what book is it? Oh yeah, White Spaces. And she did the audio in that book, and it was just like, really, really good. And it's like a romantic type book, but it also has other elements, and she nailed all of the interactions, right? And I was letting him listen to it, and his face was like, I say, she's good, right? And his face completely went to a crestfallen position. I was like, wait, it's good, right? Like, is it bad? But it's like me having that positive thing happen made him miserable in that moment. So you got to be careful with that. When people really don't want to see you win, you'll get feedback from it. A lot of times we don't want to believe it, but we'll see feedback from it that shows us like, you're essentially being shown, I have to like shrink into almost nothing in order for this person to not be bothered by me in any kind of way. And that's not really a life you want to live. When you have ideas about how to solve things or solutions about how to make something better, they always act like all your ideas are bad. This really works bad. Really, it's really rough on your self-esteem, because when you are trying to like troubleshoot something and like, let's put our heads together, let's figure this out and stuff, especially if you're in a relationship with someone, or even if it's friendship, and they're like, no, that won't work, that's stupid, or no, that's you don't know what you're talking about. I've dealt with that many times, and I'm just like, okay. So then I was like, well, maybe I shouldn't make any suggestions, right? That's just where I was at the time. But you'll notice that type of behavior. It's like everything you try to put forward is a bad idea. Everything that you try to do for a solution is a bad idea. And it's really because, like I said, at the core of it, there's much deeper issues. But that's like a sign of someone who doesn't really, first of all, doesn't really like themselves, because people that like themselves don't treat other people like that, right? But people that also don't have the capacity to like you in the way that you deserve to be liked, to treat you in a way that you deserve to be treated, like as a human being, as someone who's valued and respected, right? Because even if I'm sitting around, that's like me doing that to my daughters. And, like when they were little, they were always like, I know what we should do. This is how we can fix it. And they would have all these little kid ideas that probably they weren't going to fix what we were talking about. And I'm like, well, you know what? That's a good idea. And I was like, and on top of that, maybe we can try this. So by the time the problem was solved, or by the time we got to the solution of whatever it is we were playing together, make believe and all that kind of stuff, because we did it all, right? I played on the floor with those girls all of their under 10 years old years. And by the time we got to the end of it, they were all pumped up and their self-esteem was like through the roof, because they felt like they were a huge part of the solution. So just keep that in mind when someone refuses to allow you to be a part of the solution, allow your ideas to be good enough, and they just write you off. Then that means there's an issue there. And I've worked in environments like this too. So it's not just personal relationships. I've worked with people and I've been around coworkers and stuff, to where you just like, oh, well, maybe we can do this. And everything is getting a thumbs down. And I'm just like, I know that's a good idea. It's valuable. I did it somewhere else and it worked out perfectly in an environment with higher volume. It's scalable, blah, blah, blah. And you realize that it has nothing to do with whether or not the idea is good. It has to do with the way that they feel about you at the end of the day, right? Another thing that I noticed was like a negative thing when it came to like some red flags that didn't seem like it, but ultimately created issues, and later deeper issues came out, was that they didn't attempt to share experiences with you. They don't attempt to share experiences with you. So what I mean is like, I remember dating someone at some point a while ago. This was a long time ago. And I remember we were supposed to go out and do this little fair they had in town. Now, mind you, this fair was there for like 3 days, and I think this was like the second day. And at the last minute, I was supposed to have childcare, but actually, I was just supposed to go to their people's house, their dad's house or whatever, and it fell through, and that wasn't a big surprise. But I called and I said, oh, I wasn't going to be able to make it. And this person immediately said back to me, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Would you mind if I still went to the fair? And I was like, literally by yourself? And they were like, yeah, why not? I really wanted to go get on this ride and then try this food or whatever. And I'm just like, eventually issues showed up. But when people don't care to wait for you to have an experience, that's a huge red flag to me. It's one that people don't notice that much, but it is. I've been on vacations with people and they've had the options to do like really fun excursions and stuff. And it wasn't at a good time for me because I had something else that had to be done, or I was still working remotely or something like that. And I had to do some work on a computer. And that person was just like, well, I'm going to go without you. And I'm like, but we're on vacation together. And so when you experience things like that, and you realize that's a big deal. And it seems big, but it's not. And another thing is, same thing with like TV shows, like Netflix cheating. There is a thing where you set up a show and you all are watching it together and you're keeping up with it together and you're waiting for each other to watch it. But then you find out that this person's been watching all of the episodes when you weren't there. And you're just like, wait, I thought we were watching that together. So it's not even about the shared experience at all. It's all about them. So you got to keep that in mind. It seems small, but it's a larger part of a huger aspect of their personality, a personality trait. And someone will be like, what is Netflix cheating? Netflix cheating is when somebody is watching a show with you, or a series or something like that. And when you are too busy one night to watch it, instead of finding something else to watch or something else to do, they go and sneak and watch it behind your back and then pretend like they've seen it for the first time when you are able to watch the next episode with them or something. And what it shows is like there's a disconnect in the camaraderie. And whether you believe it or not, that is kind of like a negative thing, right? And what I find with all of these little things that I listed, it eventually leads to a deeper issue, right? And these are some things like, I'm like, oh, wish somebody would have told me. Maybe, maybe not, right? But I just thought this video was important to make because sometimes we don't realize when we're in connection with people and how they treat us is impacting our well-being, is making us feel valued or less valued, right? Because who we're around every single day and how they react to us, how they interact with us, how they feel about us, how they talk to us, how they treat us, whether they see us or whether they ignore us, in those instances, it completely impacts our well-being. And if we're not noticing that we're heavily impacted by this person not saying good morning to us, or this person not saying good evening, or you coming home and people don't even look up from the television that you've walked in the door, you don't even realize that these things are impacting you. And then as it weighs on you over time, it becomes like you feel very low about yourself, right? And for women, especially in a household, when you get to a place where you're feeling low about yourself, but you're also at the same time expected to produce and to nurture and to give and to cook and to clean and to manage things in an environment, it really weighs on you. And before you know it, you're already in a sunken place and you didn't even see it happening because you just figure like, well, people get used to people. This is how they treat them. And that's just not the case, right? And so just keep that in mind. The people that are the closest to you have the biggest impact on your well-being. While you'd like to be in this silo and be like having all these borders and walls up, I always say, if you put walls up, things can't get in and they also can't get out. So, while people can't get to you, you also don't have the room to share your love and appreciation with others. So you want to have that type of connection with other people when they're around you and when they're close to you. And if your well-being is being negatively affected, look at who's in your vicinity. Look at how they're treating you. Look at the interactions that you're having every day. And this could even be in your home. This could be in the workspace, wherever you're spending the most of your time. This is a very basic physical thing where you're spending the most of your time. How are these people receiving you? How are they interacting with you? How are they showing appreciation to you? Are they neglectful to you? Do they ignore you? Do they not value you? Do they not see you? Because so many people are around people every day, but they're not seen, they're not heard, and they're not valued. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.